Hey guys, this is Collin Moshman for CardRunners.com. In today's Quickie, we're going to go through every hand where I V-pipped in a 3R 180-man sit and go on PokerStars. Hand number 1, we open Ace-King. Now, I should have actually rebought before the game started because players make significant mistakes at 150 blinds and will often spew a larger stack to you, so I would recommend immediately rebuying, although I did miss doing that before the first hand in this particular one. When he shoves, his range is a lot of 9s, 10s, jacks, ace-queen, ace-king hands. Sometimes he'll have aces or kings, and sometimes he'll have something totally random like 9-8 suited or ace-deuce suited or something like that. So against that range, we can call it off here, and our calling range is going to be jacks plus ace-king, or hands that I would very rarely fold here against a random shoving. And you could widen it, although I wouldn't go much wider than around 9s plus, ace-jack suited, and ace-queen plus. He has ace-8 here, and we managed to get the double and save ourselves a rebuy. Pocket aces in the big blind, an easy raise, and against this type of opponent, if he flats, no matter what the flop is, even if it's, say, 9-10 jack of clubs, where we might sometimes slow down, we're going to be willing to play for stacks on the flop against him for his 75 blind stack. So we bet 201. Now if this player check raised, we wouldn't necessarily stack off. So if he makes it, say, 500, I would tend to just flat here and evaluate rather than put in a 150 blind stack with an overpair. But instead, everyone folds. Cut off jack 9 suited, I open that as the bottom of my range. Now, this player might 3-bet quite a bit, but the times when he flats and has to play post-flop 150 blinds deep, even with position, I think he's going to make enough mistakes where this open will show a profit. Instead, only one of the blinds calls, and I would have c-bet. He bet 120 and I folded. If he sizes a little bit lower, then I'm often going to float here. So let's say he bets 60. Then I'm going to flat, and we have a couple of backdoor draws as well. If he checks, I'll bet pretty much any turn. If he throws out another decent bet, then I'll call if I've connected in some way, or picked up a strong draw, and otherwise give it to him. When he bets 120, I just fold. Next hand we play is going to be ace-10 offsuit on the button. We open it. If the small blind shoves, I'm definitely going to call. And the big blind has a large stack. I believe he had fairly lagged stats. And if he shoved, I would actually call him here. So we can pull this up using the Hold'em Resources 3-bet equilibrium and see that this is the result. We're supposed to open in equilibrium, top 38%. He 3-bet shoves top 24%, and I call with top 13% with ace-9 off at the bottom of my range. And so I wouldn't assume this player is going to be playing tighter with this large stack. And if he 3-bets smaller, I would just 4-bet shove. Instead he calls. Clear c-bet here. He calls again, the turn blanks, and I go ahead and fire again for a couple of reasons. One is that a big part of his range is going to be draws, 9x, king-queen, flush draws, so I want to charge those and not give him a free card. And also, if I check back, not a lot of good things are going to happen on the river, because he might throw out a pot-sized bet on pretty much any card, forcing me into a guessing game. So here I've kept the initiative in the hand, and I can check back pretty much any river besides an ace or a 10 if he calls here. And if he check shoves, I'm not going to stack off. I will fold. But instead he folds, and we pick up a decent pot. Next time we play ace-queen in the small blind. The same player isn't pretty active and so is a big stack. Opens UTG +1, and I go ahead and 3-bet shove. Now, a shove like this isn't a total standard play when an early position player opens. Against someone who has tight stats, I would be concerned that they would have a tight opening range, the vast majority of which they would call off my shove, particularly with the dead money, and I would not have great equity against that range. But here, I think I do have enough fold equity and pot equity when he does call, that particularly with the 600, which is usually pretty much dead money, once I've shoved, that this will show a profit, and I would shove with the range of approximately 8s plus, ace-queen plus, ace-jack suited, depending on the exact stats I had. And we get it in against queens, don't hold up, and rebuy. Back in it. Ace-5 off, I would have opened on the button. We'll go to the next hand where I V-pipped, which is going to be Ace-King offsuit. Here I would shove a range of approximately 7s plus, Ace-Jack, Ace-10 suited. And we get a heads up against a shorter stack and manage to win a nice pot there.